Russia's brutal and unjustified invasion of Ukraine is going to have a profound impact on the European food security, agriculture, and sustainable farming programs and initiatives. For recent months and years, much of the European Union has been fixated on pro-environment policy, but it's likely what we're about to see a shift in another direction because of the Ukrainian conflict. So stay tuned and don't go away, because we're discussing why the Russo-Ukrainian war is set to delay the EU's sustainable farming plans. First up, why is the European Commission shifting its policy priorities? You're about to find out. The European Commission, EC, will delay the publication of proposals on sustainable farming and the environment that were expected in March. The impact of the war in Ukraine on regional food security has led some countries to question the European Union's pro-environmental stance. The EU's Green Deal is essentially a revamping of all sectors, including agriculture, which produces roughly 10% of the EU's greenhouse gas emissions. For instance, Brussels has targets that include reducing chemical pesticide use by 50% by 2030, and it is drafting legislation to make that a reality. The European Commission was about to announce two new bold proposals, one that would restore nature and one that would provide a more sustainable pesticides law. However, now, much of the focus is the European Union has shifted to the crisis in Ukraine, and it seems like the Green Deal initiatives will be put on the back burner at least for a little while. Agriculture Commissioner Janez Wojciechowski said that the EU won't be discussing pesticides at its upcoming meeting and that the publication of the new farming and environmental proposals would be pushed back. The EU's Food Safety Commissioner Stella Kyriakides informed agricultural ministers in Brussels that the bloc must shift to sustainable pesticide use, but insisted that the Ukrainian crisis should now be at the forefront of their discussions. Next up, how has the European Commission changed its goals in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Let's take a look. The European Commission will put forward new measures to deal with the significant impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has driven up prices of wheat and barley and raised fears of food shortages on the European continent. The sovereign nation of Ukraine is Europe's leading producer of grains, wheat, seeds, chicken, sunflower oil, and related food products. Russia and Ukraine actually make up a third of the world's global trade in wheat, and more than half of the world's sunflower oils, seeds, and meals. One of the Commission's proposal is to allow the cultivation of various products on land lying fallow. This is a practice that enables the environment to recover quickly between farming cycles. The EC's measures are set to include assistance for pig farmers in particular, given that pork exports to Ukraine have now been cut off. These measures will allow European leaders to provide much-needed agricultural aid to Ukraine and other European nations in need. However, a total of 400 scientists, food and agriculture experts, have argued that abandoning sustainable farming practices would be counterproductive. The experts issued a statement in response to the European Commission's policy shift and said these measures would not move us toward but further away from a reliable food system that is resilient to future shocks and delivers healthy and sustainable diets. Instead, experts are calling for a shift from crops that rely less on fertilizers produced from Russian gas to more plant-based diets to reduce dependence on grain needed for animal feed. Up next, why hasn't Russia's blitzkrieg-style attack and invasion succeeded in crushing Ukrainian resistance? Let's find out. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russian military leaders were certain weeks ago that victory would be secured in a matter of days, and their so-called special operation would be an undeniable success. However, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a colossal failure for the Russian regime, so much so that Russian leaders have reached out to Ramzan Kadyrov and his band of Chechen extremists for assistance, and they are even employing Syrian fighters to come to their aid. Ramzan Kadyrov was once one of the Kremlin's most feared adversaries. He and his Chechen rebels were at war with Russia on numerous occasions and are known for committing unspeakable war crimes and crimes against humanity. So far, Russia's special operation is looking more and more like a special disaster. Ukrainian soldiers, civilians, and foreign fighters from Canada, Australia, and the UK, Scotland, Japan, and other countries have made the trip to Ukraine to fight the Russian invaders and do their part in crushing the Russian advance. Ukraine has also received billions of dollars in weapons, arms, and ammunition shipments from its allies and NATO members, as well as humanitarian aid in the form of food, clothing, blankets, and medicine. However, one of the most rewarding gifts that Ukraine has received thus far is the anti-tank anti-tank guided missile, or ATGM, which is fired from the Javelin, portable shoulder-fired missile launcher. As you may have seen on the news, Russia's invasion has come across land, sea, and air, but in the end, it will be its ground forces that try to encircle and conquer Ukraine's capital city of Kiev. To do this, the Russian military is relying heavily on its armored tank columns and divisions, and that's where the Javelin comes in. The Javelin is striking fear in the hearts of the Russian tank commanders for its ability to completely obliterate tanks from up to a few kilometers and miles away. Stay tuned and don't go away, because we're revealing everything you need to know about the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Next up, why did Russian President Vladimir Putin make the decision to launch his special operation? Let's take a look. There are theories as to why President Putin has made the decision to invade the sovereign nation of Ukraine. Some experts say Putin's decision to invade was the result of eastward NATO expansion and his fear that Ukraine would become a member of NATO. So it's believed that President Putin made the choice as a preemptive measure so that he could conquer Ukraine and no longer have to worry about its NATO membership. However, as we said, Ukraine is a sovereign nation, and that is not President Putin's decision to make. Of course, President Putin himself is insisting that his forces are in Ukraine to liberate the nation, which he claims has been overrun by Nazis. And back at home, the Russian propaganda machine is in full swing, working overtime to perpetuate this falsehood and blasting it over the airwaves, TV and print. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, who himself and his entire family are Jewish, calls the Russian president's allegations patently false and absurd. Of course, there are right-wing neo-Nazi type elements among Ukraine's populace, but it's no different than the number of neo-Nazis in Canada, Britain, or the United States. No matter which country you look at, you will find a very small percentage of the respective population is sympathetic to Nazi ideologies, but to suggest that Ukraine has been overrun and controlled by Nazis is ludicrous. If Putin's claims were true, the Ukrainian government would have issued a call for assistance to the international community. No such call was ever made. The only calls for assistance that have come from Ukraine are those seeking assistance to fight Russian invaders. Up next, does troop morale really make a big difference in battle? You bet. At the time of this recording, Ukrainian forces have pushed Russian forces back to the front lines, east of Kiev. Russian forces are roughly 55 kilometers, or 34 miles, away from Kiev's city center to the east. US and NATO intelligence suggests that the situation is becoming a meat grinder for the Russian forces, who are taking heavy casualties. Russian forces are facing fierce resistance from all Ukrainians, including even the elderly, who are not afraid to place themselves in front of Russian tanks and trucks in an effort to slow the Russian advance. Russian forces and tank columns are also getting hammered by drone missiles, which are slowing their progress. But another big reason why the Russian military invasion has not gone according to its initial blitzkrieg-style plan is because of morale. Believe it or not, troop morale has a significant impact on military operations, and for Russian soldiers, morale is low. And frankly, many of them don't want to be there. They're tired, hungry, cold. Many of them are young and scared. Russian troops are also cognizant of the fact that they are the invaders, and that they are essentially the bad guys in this conflict who are on the wrong side of history. They're aware that they are not committing a righteous act, and that seems to be eating away at some of the soldiers, who, for good reason, don't want to die for doing something that much of the rest of the world views as evil and reprehensible. On the Ukrainian side, however, morale is extremely high. Although fearful at times, Ukrainian fighters are pumped up, energized, proud, and are eagerly defending their homeland with smiles and song. Finally, we would like to dedicate this video to the brave men and women and children of Ukraine. All over social media, people are showing their love and support for Ukraine. Many yellow and blue hearts are flooding the internet. It's unthinkable that a peaceful, democratic country would be invaded in the 21st century. After World War II, an international slogan emerged. Two simple words: never again. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. It's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching.